I am designation LevX3376. Heavy combat unit. Once my kind were used by humans to kill other humans. Those wars have ended. The Lev units they used to patrol the killing fields are no more. I was created after the last Great War, and with the first batch of LevX units. My purpose is to guard humans should anything threaten them. My place of guardianship is on board a maglev tram that routes through the lower and older districts of the city. I have stood guard over this maglev for 5 years. It is a good duty. I know the route well. I know the passengers better. Most passengers are the same, with the occasional new rider. Some are adults on their way to work. Others are children on their way to school. The maglev's AI communicates to me via shortband to inform me that the route is beginning. I perform a short patrol of the 60-meter long tram car to inspect it for any faults or errors. I find none, and the maglev AI, who is named Ilya by her company, reports the same. The maglev disembarks from the station and begins its long route around the city. The time is 7:30 AM. Our first stop is the apartment blocks close to the Avondale River. I am standing at my guard post located towards the centre of the maglev. It is a recessed part of the wall where I can charge my externals and reload should I ever need to. My body is powered by a miniature reactor that the humans say can power me for decades. The first stop welcomes aboard 12 humans. A variety of young adults and children board the maglev and find their usual spots. One of the humans approached me. I know her well. She is Ashley, age 12. She produces a sticker from her backpack and gently applies it to the armor plating my right forearm. It finds a good place among the other stickers she has placed there. Today's sticker is that of an animated feline character from a popular cartoon show. Ashley smiles and pats my arm while looking up at my faceplate. She measures to 1.5 meters, dwarfed entirely by my 3.6 meter height. Most adult humans are wary of LevXs because of the Lev's history. Children are different. Do they not share the same fear as adults? Or do they not know of them? I will ask Officer Jess when I see her. My right hand currently holds my firearm, so in order to complete the task that Ashley has taught me, I raise my left hand. I close all fingers but the primary one before gently pressing it to her nose. This causes her to smile even more. I do not understand this task, but Ashley, age 12, enjoys it. I am careful to not press too hard. Humans are organic, and organics are fragile. The time is 8 AM. Our second stop brings us to the assisted living facility. Here we pick up 4 individuals of varying older age. I am stationed at the front of the maglev, ready to give assistance. Humans of older age are frail, and often in need of assistance when it comes to moving. The first 3 passengers do not need my assistance, but human Mariana Serrano, age 67, does need my assistance. Ilya lowers the ramp, which allows Mariana Serrano to move up the ramp in a somewhat slow pace. Once on board, I am sure to escort her to her favourite spot near the front. Though I lack the ability to smell, my senses pick up the distinct change that indicates a powerful scent. As always when she rides the maglev, Mariana Serrano has brought a basket of tamales. Once she has seated herself, she holds the basket up to me. I am careful to take it. My new task, as always, is to patrol the maglev and allow passengers to retrieve the warm food that is provided. To date, I have not had a human refuse the warm food. Once my task is finished, I return the nearly empty basket to Mariana Serrano. She pats my arm and thanks me in her native language. She tells me that I am a good man before placing one of the tamales in my left hand. For that hard-working officer, you'll keep it warm for her, yes? I carefully close my hand around the tamal to preserve its heat before confirming. Affirmative. I will deliver the item to Officer Jess. My voice is typically loud and authoritative, but I am careful to lower the volume so as to not distress or frighten the passengers. The time is 8:30 AM. We reach the learning district and the children and younger adults disembark the maglev. No passengers boarded this time and we are off once again. Ashley waves me before leaving, and I mimic her hand movement. The time is 8:45 AM. This stop is the adult care facility. Here the 4 oldest passengers disembark, and I am there to help Mariana Serrano to the ramp. She pats my arm and tells me, "You take care of that girl now. She needs someone like you." Once more, I confirm in the affirmative. The time is 9 AM, and we stop at the Warutteri apartment district. Here we pick up the main bulk of our passengers, that being 47 individuals including Officer Jess. Officer Jess is my human equivalent, and also my superior officer. I report directly to her, and once she sits herself at the small station opposite of mine, I give her my daily report. She rubs her forehead with one hand and lets out a sigh before replying. Come on, big guy, it's the same shit every day. Nothing ever happens on this route. She crosses her arms and lays her head on the counter of her station. I extend my hand and offer the still warm tamale to her. She takes it and begins eating it. It is good that nothing happens. Our job is to protect, I reply to her. Her shoulders rise, then fall before she mutters out, Feels like we're protecting Jack and shit. I leave it be, though I do not understand her frustration. I do know that she seeks a transfer to a new position. Did you achieve the transfer that you wanted? I ask her. She scowls and turns her eyes to my faceplate before standing and banging the bottom of her fist on my chest plate. Though she measures to only 1.6 meters, she still carries with her a good presence. What do you think, Rust Bucket? I'm still here on this boring route where nothing happens. She tries to play it up, but I see the water at the edges of her eyes. I am careful to extend my left hand and brush the water away from her eyes. I must be careful. She is human, and humans are organic. It is an act I have seen human parents perform on their children when the water wells in their eyes. Officer Jess is caught off guard by this and turns her head away while crossing her arms. She mutters out to me quietly, I'm sorry, Levy. Levy is not my designation, but it is the nickname she has bestowed upon me. The time is 10:37 AM. We are on the longest stretch of the route between stops. Ilya sends a message to me indicating an issue with her GPS signal. I perform my own wideband test and confirm the same issue. I inform Officer Jess of this. She waves her hand and says it must be a satellite malfunctioning. Nonetheless, Ilya and I continue performing our own tests. Ilya knows the route like the circuitry of her body. She could do the route even without her dozens of sensors. The time is 10:45 AM. There is a fire in the sky. Ilya is the first to notify me, and I approach a window on the starboard side in order to confirm visually that there has been a detonation high in the sky. Many passengers have begun to look out the window and see what I am seeing. Panic voices start to rise, but Officer Jess is quick to take command. Let's calm down, everyone. We don't even know what's happening. It could just be a space cruiser crashing. There is a shake in her voice. She does not believe her own words. We all watch for a few more moments before the clouds break and give way to an armada of ships descending from above. Their make is unlike any I have seen before. Human ships are bulky and angular, while these ships are sleek. I begin sending out SOS signals across every mode of communication I have, while Ilya does the same. The passengers are panicking further, and Officer Jess is stunned into silence. I place a hand on her shoulder and give her a light shake to snap her out of her moment. Officer Jess, this is a military invasion. We must prepare ourselves for defense. My words are cut off when something slams into the maglev, causing us to veer off course. Ilya does her best to regain control, but we need to close the building. One of Ilya's rear thrusters is shorn completely by the impact. Ilya gives up on remaining in the air and focuses entirely on a controlled landing. She does an admirable job of slowing our descent from standard tram speed to that of a ship about to safely crash. The landing is not comfortable for the humans. There is a loud banging noise, followed by a long scraping as we slide across the concrete below. Most passengers are thrown from their seats, and even Officer Jess finds herself clinging desperately to my side in order to not fall. Ilya continues to fire her thrusters in one angle or another, and manages to slow the speed of our skid considerably. The front end of the maglev bumps into the side of a building, but causing only minor jostling of the already jostled passengers. I perform a quick scan of all humans on board and come back with many scrapes and bruises. I am not pleased with this, but happy that serious injuries are not present. Officer Jess, it would be best to retrieve your firearm, I say to her. My voice snaps her out of the confusion she was fighting, and she wildly nods before moving to the case attached to my left leg. She enters her identifying information, and the case opens. Her typical armament when riding the maglev is her body armor and a standard pistol. The assault rifle in my case is only for the worst of emergencies. It comes with 1 mag loaded and 4 more ready. She is quick to slot them into the proper places across her body armor. A motion her and I have practiced many times. I myself carry a fully automatic 20mm cannon that belt feeds into a compartment on my back. We hear noise on the roof of the maglev that sound like footsteps. There was confusion among the humans because of this. We had only just crashed. How could anyone be here so soon? I query the possibility before speaking. Officer Jess, I believe an orbital drop pod is what knocked us out of the sky. There are currently enemies on the roof. Officer Jess looks to be bewildered before aiming her gun at the roof. I place my hand in the way. We know not where they are currently. Preserve your ammo. She frowns and nods before looking around and watching the roof for any signs of them. It isn't long before something hot burns a circular hole in the centre of the maglev's roof. The roof panel drops to the floor, and an armoured being drops down through the hole. Though it is bipedal like the humans, its legs are digitigrade, and there is a lengthy tail behind it. 2 more of the beings drop down on either side of the first. Each of them is carrying what appears to be firearms. "Armed hostiles, drop your weapons, you are in violation," I commanded them. They either do not understand me, or are ignoring me. One of them points at Officer Jess and shouts something before raising his weapon at her. She is faster though, and puts a 3-round burst through his chest. The bullets tear through his armour and kill it, causing it to slump backwards in a slowly growing pool of green blood. The other 2 beings shout in defiance and raise their weapons. Jess is quick with the first invader, but not so much with the next 2. She panics and overadjusts her aim, causing her next burst to fly past the left invader's head. They fire in return, but I move in between them and Officer Jess. The bullets collide with my hardened armour and fall helplessly to the ground. "Cover your ears, passengers," I say, as I level my weapon with the 2 invaders. Officer Jess takes a back step and yells to the passengers, "Cover your fucking ears!" before dropping to her knee and placing both hands over her ears. I give it a moment to let the passengers follow suit before pulling the trigger twice, with minor barrel adjustment. Officer Jess's gun had a roar to it. The invaders' guns were similar in loudness. My cannon's roar shatters the windows on either side of the barrel, and the rounds collide with both invaders and detonate, turning them into little more than green mist. I lower my weapon and turn to Officer Jess and the passengers. I give them time to climb to their feet and adjust themselves, whoever they can, before speaking to Officer Jess. "I am unable to make headway in any forms of contact. We are currently cut off and alone." She sighs and bangs the bottom of her fist on my chest plate. "You said it, big guy. I'll check on the passengers. You and Ilya keep trying to contact anyone while you patrol." I nod an affirmative before doing just so. It is less than 10 minutes before the sound of engines can be heard outside, and 2 dropships of the same make as the invading ships above are seen landing not far outside. Officer Jess instructs everyone to make their way to the front of the maglev, as it is nestled against the building and offers more protection. The invaders outside are quick to leave their dropship and set up a defensive pattern around it while aiming weapons inward towards the maglev. I'm about to inform Officer Jess as much when the invaders open fire. A storm of bullets tear through the maglev like it was made of paper. I'm quick to move myself in the line of fire, but not quick enough. By the time I position myself properly, 7 passengers are dead, and many more wounded. "Officer Jess, passengers are in need of medical attention." I'm holding my cannon at the ready and waiting for her orders. Her orders do not come. I turn and see that she is laying among the passengers. A bullet has torn its way through her chest, and she is currently choking on blood. "Officer Jess, you are injured. Instruct me how to fix you." I wait for her orders. Her orders do not come. A nearby passenger crawls low to avoid being seen in the window, and he speaks to me. "Hey, I'm a nurse. I can help these people, but I need a medkit." I look to the human. He is Human Todd, aged 27. He is a registered nurse and has the experience, but not the tools. I look once more to Officer Jess. Without her order, I cannot open the cache at her station. "Officer Jess, I need your order." She raises her hand up and places it on my faceplate. Her palm is soaked in blood, both hers and others. This is not an order. I am unable to comply with this. I query myself. If I do not act, then Officer Jess will die, but I cannot act without Officer Jess's orders. I stand and make my way to the guard post. The medical cache is right there. I look once more to the passengers, then to the lockbox. If I violate my directive, it will mean that I will be dismantled. It will be worth it to know that Officer Jess will still be alive. I do not have the access code to the lockbox. I smash my fist into the box before pulling the door off and dropping it. I retrieve the medical kit and return it to Todd. He rips it open and begins using everything he has to stabilize Officer Jess. He recruits nearby passengers that are able and instructs them on how to stabilize the other still living passengers. I see that water is running from Officer Jess's eyes. I kneel down and brush the water away before speaking. "Officer Jess, my mission is to protect this maglev and all on board. I am not to leave the maglev under any circumstances. I must leave to defend you. I will go. You will stay." She tries to reach up to me, but is unable as I move away. I reach the main doors and nearly opens them for me. She will continue to radio for help while I defend. I observe their firing line. By my count, there appears to be around 75 invaders. Inside the maglev, I am limited by my design. I am large and bulky. It is difficult to move around and my weapon is too big. My lines of units were designed to stalk the battlefield and kill. I level my weapon with their firing line and squeeze the trigger. I quickly turn their expertly planned assault into a rapidly declining defense. The explosive rounds of my cannon hit their targets and detonate, either killing the intended target or destroying their cover. One of the invaders shoulders a launcher and fires at me. I go to sidestep the rocket, but realize that doing so would mean the maglev would be hit. I plant my feet and ready myself for impact. The explosion is far more powerful than I had been anticipating. I lose the sensors on the right side of my faceplate, and my cannon is rendered inoperable due to a mangled barrel. There is also a hole in the right side of my chest where coolant is leaking out and giving access to my reactor, which has been knocked into an improper position and is starting to overload. In 60 seconds, my reactor will reach critical mass and detonate. The ensuing explosion will destroy everything within 100 meters of myself. The invaders have begun regrouping their force into a centralized firing squad. The incoming fire tears into my armor, and I feel myself losing stability. I think of every passenger inside the maglev, of the passengers I've come to meet over my long duty as Guardian. Ashy with her stickers, Mariana Serrano and her tamals, Officer Jess. I dig a foot into the ground and use it to push myself forward, and then I repeat the process until I am in a sprint towards the invaders. The heat from my reactor is becoming too much, and my heat sinks are melting inside me. The coolant that runs from my body is boiling, and my CPU is experiencing errors. I believe the humans call this blind rage. I do not know if I experience emotion. I jump over the front line of the invaders and land on top of one of the backline soldiers, crossing his chest inwards with my foot. Their commanding officer raises his weapon to me, but he is organic, and organics are fragile. I grab him by the neck and lift him off his feet until we are face to faceplate. The last thing he sees is the bloody handprint of my visor before my reactor detonates and turns their entire fire line and their dropships into slag. A year has passed since then. I'd expected the humans to review the incident and delete my backup memory files, as I had violated multiple directives. I accessed the medical cache without permission, left the maglev without orders, and lost my firearm and body. Any one of those would be worthy of punishment, but altogether meant destruction. All across the city, LevX units like myself had similar experiences. They had fought until they had nothing more to give, and then they gave their lives. We had all separately made the decision that violating our directives was fine, if it meant saving humans. Now I stand here, at a grand ceremony alongside Officer Jess, as we are given awards of valor and heroism. I do not understand the purpose of the medals, but the humans gave them to me, and thus I will wear them until I can no longer operate. I continue to patrol the same maglev unit. Ilya was given many improvements to her body, including a new chassis, and even the addition of point defense weapons should any future alien invaders decide to land drop pods on our maglevs again. Officer Jess stopped requesting transfers. She told me that experiencing action made her realize that a peaceful life wasn't so bad. I will always be the guardian to my passengers. My passengers are human. They are organic being, and they are fragile. I will never lose another passenger.